Hello again in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. I'm grateful to all of you that follow me here because you don't have to, but I'm just so grateful you follow me here to have this little community as well. And if you've been here before, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Nicholas, and on my channel I talk about witchcraft, Wicca, paganism, self-love, and all matter of philosophical and spiritual topics. So, if you've been here before, welcome back. And if you're new, welcome. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And join this amazing community. I'd really appreciate that. And help the channel grow. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And you'll know what we're going to be talking about today based on the title, and spiritual morality. So first, morality is the belief that something is right or wrong. Morality delves into that. What actions, behaviours, what we as human beings do that are right and wrong. And then spirituality. Now, spirituality is not necessarily a religion. There are those who follow a religion, and for them that is sort of their spiritual path. There are certain spiritual paths that are more, there are certain spiritual paths that are like a religion but are not. And everyone's spiritual journey or spiritual path is different. Now, for someone following a religion, in a religion setting, especially an organised religion, there'll be lots of different rules or beliefs about, like for the Catholic religion, and I'm not Catholic, but I was brought up Catholic, and to me, even if you're brought up in a religious family, or you're brought up, you may have Catholic ancestors, you may have Muslim, Jewish, Hindu ancestors. That may be the religion that your family followed and your family's ancestors, but you're only Christian, you're only Jewish if you follow the belief system of your ancestors and the belief system of that, and you follow that path. But with Christianity, there's lots of different beliefs about what's morally acceptable. So in the Catholic religion, there's lots of different beliefs about what's right and what's wrong, for us as human beings to do, what's sinful and what's not sinful. Some of them make sense, like one of the 10 Commandments is shall not kill. And that one makes sense, but throughout history, not all Christians, not all Catholics, not all Abrahamic followers have brushed it under the carpet, that one. But there are those who have brushed it under the carpet and done things, because if you're breaking that commandment, then you're doing, and there's things in the Bible that justify terrible and horrific things. But, that one, I agree with that one, And then following a spiritual path, or that, is not about being perfect. You'll never be perfect in life. And neither loving yourself is not about being perfect either. It's all about learning from your mistakes and, trying to do better, and learning from your shortcomings as well. And not judging yourself, not feeling bad. It's just learning, why did I do these? Like we've all stole. When I was younger, I used to, there was a shop, when I was young, I used to steal like sweeties and things out of shops. And, I never get caught for doing that. And then one time I was on a trip, and I know it was wrong, but I would never dare do it now. But there were certain reasons why I done what I done back then. And most of us children, we do stealing, and stealing is, to me, it's an action that does cause harm. And it causes harm to the business, it causes harm to the sort of world in some way. So it hasn't got a good energy to stealing, and it causes harm. Now, to me, when it comes to morality, what's right and what's wrong, you've got to ask yourself that question. And a lot of people, they'll be on a spiritual path, they'll be on a religious path, and they just blindly follow. Now in Christianity, the priest or the religious figure might say, don't do this, do that, and people never question it, or they're told not to question it, and they're told just to blindly follow things. And that's foolish. Because you'll never become wise if you're a sheep. You've always got to question, why is that behaviour right, or why is that behaviour wrong? And then you've got to question it for yourself. Why do you actually resonate with that? Do you believe that's wrong? Do you actually believe that's wrong? Or do you believe that's right? You've got to question that as well. And there's so many nuances to this as well. But to me, spirituality, I'm no longer Wiccan, but there's still a lot of elements of Wicca in my magical practice. So in Wicca, there's the Wiccan Rede, in it harm none, do what you will. Now to me that makes sense. Do whatever you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone, including yourself. That's the way I look at that. And also there's the threefold law, like if you do actions that harm others, you'll get it back 3 times over. Now different Wiccans will look at that in different ways. Some believe you'll get 3 bad things will happen to you. I didn't look at it that way. I just looked at if you've done something bad, it would affect you mentally, emotionally, physically. I don't believe in the threefold law anymore, but what I do believe in is whatever energy you put out, you do get it back. And it does affect you mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically and spiritually. If you do horrible and wicked things, you get that energy back. So that's the way I look at it. And also another moral, what I resonate with, is treat others the way you'd like to be treated. But the problem with this is most people don't love themselves. Therefore, most people don't feel that they're worthy of respect and kindness. And most people are not nice to themselves. So if more people loved themselves and respected themselves and were kind to themselves, so if your cup is full, if you're good up here, you're good in your heart, then you'll physically feel good. Because it's a balance in many ways. If you feel good inside, then you can start pouring good energy into others and treating others the way you deserve to be treated. And I feel more people would follow the golden rule if they loved themselves. And that's not something that happens overnight. It's a long life journey. But ultimately, even though spirituality, morality, a lot of these subjects are very complex, to me we can keep it very simple. If something's wrong per se, or if something's wrong or sinful, you just have to ask yourself, does that behaviour cause harm? One example of this would be now there's nuances. Some Christians and some people who follow the Abrahamic traditions, being Christianity, Judaism, Islam, those 3 main religions. Some people will say that being gay is sinful. Now, as a gay person myself, I don't resonate with that. To me, don't resonate with that, because being gay is not a choice. Because who would choose to be arrested? Who would choose to be burned? Now that doesn't happen here anymore, but it did happen many years ago. And in some countries it still happens. You can be arrested for just being yourself. You can be arrested for your sexuality. Some people even stoned to death for their sexuality in other countries. So who would choose that? So that to me, when people say, oh, it's a sin and it's a choice, the first, saying it's a choice is ridiculous to me. But when you say it's a sin, to me it's not hurting anyone. It doesn't affect anyone. If it doesn't affect anyone, it's just because there's 2, if you had 2, for example, if you had 2 gay next door neighbours, it's not going to affect if there's money in your pocket the next day, or if you're going to get a loaf of bread and milk on the table the next day. And it doesn't do any harm to you whatsoever unless you choose to let it do you any harm. You know? So to me, that's the question we've got to ask ourselves. If something's really wrong or sinful, does it cause harm to you or anyone else? You know? And that's the question we've got to ask ourselves. Does that behaviour cause any harm to me or to anyone else? And for the most part, the answer to that, if it's about being gay, then the answer to that question would be no. And it's so important to respect everyone's beliefs and to respect people's sexuality as well. And that's the question, and it's never wise to blindly follow anything. Always question, always ask why, and always, before you determine if something's right or wrong, morally speaking, you've got to ask yourself that question. If you're on a spiritual path, what's morally right or wrong for you? And witchcraft, as it's a magical practice, every witch practice is different. There are different types of witchcraft. For most of us witches, because witchcraft's not a religion, you can include religion into it, but it's a magical practice. It's up to each individual witch to describe what's morally right and what's morally wrong for them. It's up to each individual practitioner to decide that, what's morally right and wrong for them as well. And even though spirituality and all that, morality is very complex, to me we can keep it very simple. And just have to ask yourself, if something's right or wrong, does that individual's actions or choices cause any harm to me or to the world at large? And if the answer's no, then it's not really a sin, and there's nothing really morally wrong with it at the end of the day as well. And I hope that's my message in this video. But there are many beliefs in the world about what's right and what's wrong, what's morally acceptable, and you've got to question what's right and wrong. And to me, it's like, before I discovered my sexuality, but I feel I always had a feeling, because as I discovered more, because there was a time in my life where I discovered Christianity, or I did follow the religion of my family for a while. I didn't have a strict upbringing, but did follow it for a while because it resonated with me. But there was a lot of things, a lot of beliefs in the Catholic religion that didn't resonate with me. And even I think I always had a feeling that I was gay, or I always sort of knew. But even if I wasn't gay, I'd still be very supportive of other people's sexualities, because to me, you can't change your sexuality. It is part of you, and we should celebrate and embrace our sexuality. And there's nothing wrong with being gay, and doesn't cause any harm or sin. So that's something that many Christians, Abrahamic people, believe is morally wrong, but to me, it doesn't cause any harm. So therefore, it doesn't cause any harm. To me, it causes more harm to live a lie, to you, and also, you're robbing sort of the world of your greatness when you're only living half a life. Because, and I'll talk more about that, denying your sexuality, living half a life, and later videos as well. Because accepting your sexuality is part of self-love, but again, when you're on a spiritual path, it's up to you as a witch or a spiritual person to really think about what's morally right and wrong. And what's really going to help you there is to ask yourself, that behaviour, what people do or choose to do, does it cause you any harm, or does it cause the world at large any harm? However, until next time, may meet, may part again, blessed be.